Now when you will say कि ID selector is not support, so they will tell you, ask you कि why ID selector does not support. Sorry, why ID selector does not support. ऐसा क्या है कि ID selector support नहीं करता है? There should be some reason, right? What is that reason? So you have to understand one thing in this, why we don't support the ID selector and Angular. And it's not about Angular, any client side framework. If you are using the ID, then you are making the super duper mistake. Okay, na? You should not use the ID into the any client side page. It is strange, right? To hear, but it is the fact. Whenever you use Angular, React or Knockout type of application, you should not use ID on the page. Instead of, you should, means only one exception is there where you should use the ID. And what is the reason behind that? So to understand, you have to go back in 1990s. So when 1990s and HTML and Java, when JavaScript is launched, you guys know? 95. ठीक है ना? That time how much big projects, how big your system was? That time 4 MB 256 KB ऐसी तो RAM होती थी. आज कितनी होती है? 32 GB. ठीक है ना? So that time the operating system or memory was the very less. Okay. And even then your browser were working. And what's actually happens in the browser, if you do the JavaScript ID आपको select करना, तो it has to parse, means it do any JavaScript operation, it has to parse the full HTML and then it can identify that, right? So what the industry has done is they have come up with the solution, like in database, why you create the indexes? To direct retrieval, fast retrieval of that record, right now. So at the same time in 1997 they have come up with the solution for this problem. JavaScript could able to fast retrieve the element of the page. They have come up with the solution called the ID. What ID does is, actually I am going to show you the big myth. Even if you are the 5-year-old, 10-year of experience, when I have written like this, कहाँ था मेरा HTML का पेज? यहाँ पे क्या होता है कि इस डबल कोट का मीनिंग क्या होता है कि जैसे डबल कोट आ जाता है, will it work? Each time हाँ? Okay, what means? Will it work? कौन? ठीक है, आप बोल लो. It will it work? So that's for वो क्या करता है, पूरा कलेक्शन मैं क्या अलग कलेक्शन देती हूँ. क्यों? I have not, where is defined? ID equals to ABC. Okay. What you guys you say? Will it work or not? So I am going to see that. That's the very good thing. It is working. So what's happened actually? If you understand, okay, whenever I am creating, how many IDs we are creating on the page, okay, it is register inside the window directly, and you can use that ID directly. You never require to write the document.getElement by ID. Okay, might be you know or don't know, it is the practice of everyone. We always write document.getElement by ID, but it is never required. You can directly access any element which has the ID. But suppose we are using the single page application and everywhere you are putting the ID, this and it is window is going to keep the reference of that, even it is showing or not showing, because on one page you are going to show n number of things, right? And my window will not get refreshed. So my memory size will, in memory, whatever the browser memory will get exhausted, because it is going to keep the reference of the all IDs. That's the key reason any client side framework says never use the ID. You are getting my point. What would be the issue? If I have the 100 ID in one page, 100 ID in 200 page, all reference would be available on the window करके, तो भाई in that case what will happen, my window will, the size will get increased ना, and your performance will decrease. So we never use the id. ठीक है, in nowadays. ठीक है, तो leave this and get document dot get element by id is never ever required. ये आपको बचपन से आदत लग गई है, that's the more different topic. And now from not now, it was from the 2003 and 4. I am telling you why this document dot get element by id has come. Previously some browser has come up with the instead of id, some browser has come up with the solution of name. So they were keeping the instead of id, they were using the name in the references. ठीक है ना, and some were using the id because it was the evolving, right ना. So to reduce that, to make that okay, name also or id also, they had come up with a function called right okay document dot get element by id. But with time every browser supposed the id with the same manner, and now क्या 15 साल पहले भी id was working directly. Now you try in any browser, it will work like that. ठीक है ना, you never require ID, but it's the best practice now. And even that document dot get element by ID you should not write. ठीक है ना, that next thing also. Nowadays no one write the document dot get element by ID, document dot class name. So what they use? jQuery, right? What jQuery means? Hash ID. So my question is, what jQuery internally use? jQuery is the JavaScript, right? So what jQuery use? हम लोग को अगर I would say मेरे को ये वाला भी तरीका यूज नहीं करना है, मेरे को ये CLS से सिलेक्ट करना था. तो what you would have done is $dot XYZ. You might have written like this and like this dot, anything you would have done, dot INNER, yeah, dot HTML. You might have used like that in jQuery, right? You might have read the jQuery also. Here I have not added jQuery, so it is not going to work out, but it is the same command for jQuery. So my question is, how jQuery understand this dot? Is it going to remove the dot and use the get the element by class name? Is that happen in jQuery? What's happened internally in the jQuery? jQuery also is the JavaScript, no? You should supposed to know what is JavaScript for this. jQuery तो आपको पता है, सभी यूज करते हैं, right? So what is JavaScript for this? Dollar is jQuery. Okay. So what is JavaScript for this? I am going to show you here only. Document dot query selector. Query selector. I can use like dot XYZ. You write like this only, right? I can write like this also, hash ABC. Query selector always return the first element which will get, and the query selector all return the array. ठीक है ना? You should know this. This is also one of the most important JavaScript question nowadays. ठीक है ना? And now you have to be master in JavaScript, not basic. You have to be understand very well detail, which we are going to teach you in day by day, every day. In the more focus, I have told you is our JavaScript 70% course on that. So you have to, whatever I am writing, telling you individual line, you have to create the document for this. It's very important topic for interview. Query selector. You got it? What is query selector is? What is this query selector? Instead of previously everyone was using get element by ID. ठीक है? Get element by tag name. By क्या होता था? Get elements by class name. ऐसे लिखते थे ना? या by elements by tag name. Now no one use these things. What everyone uses? Document dot query selector. अगर I want to use by tag name, I will just write the div. It will give me the, जैसा हम लोग jQuery में लिखते हैं ना, वैसा का वैसा. And this is also available from 12 years before. No one knows that. Means लोग jQuery के ऊपर ही नहीं उठते, बात अलग है. ठीक है ना? Got it? आपको कोई राजू आपको कोई कंफ्यूजन है इसमें? whatever I have teach you, okay? अगर है क्वेश्चन है तो you guys should ask me, right? I cannot understand you are getting or not. Even I am asking multiple time. So this is one of the important question with respect of the JavaScript. What is the query selector? And opposite one more question is there. If I am going to use the div 2 time, okay, I want to use the both div. Okay, I don't want to use this. Okay, I want to use the both div. So what is the, I have refreshed this. So I want to get both div, so I have used always be query selector all, and it is going to give me the array. ठीक है ना? फर्स्ट div ये है, दूसरा div ये है जिसके अंदर ये, ठीक है, राइट? So you should understand what is query selector, and second is the query selector all. Got it? So that is important topic.